Good evening to all of our viewers this evening. It's a great day here in Conway, South Carolina, and I'm back with you again. And today we are joined by a dear friend and professional, John Buck from Washington, D.C., who is our president of the National Institute for Home Care Accreditation, what we actually term it as NICA. John is with us, and he is here to share with us about home care quality, the importance of accreditation. Why should you look to have your agency accredited? John, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome, my dear. And I know that this afternoon and getting on, I now know that you're not technically savvy, right?
Correct.
So I had to put that out there for everybody to know.
Yeah.
Technology is not John's thing, but the thing that is his thing and what we're most interested in is knowing and understanding about how we're going to run our agencies. What are the benefits of accreditation and how can we adopt it into our day-to-day operations? So John, I'm going to open up by just asking you just to share with us, the National Institute for Home Care Accreditation, also commonly known as NICA, is an organization that you have formed. Tell us about your purpose. Tell us about the history, your ideology of accreditation, and why you are here today in embracing the home care quality for all of our home care agencies.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I spent over 35 years in home care as an owner and as executive leader in several different home care organizations. So home care is near and dear to me, even though I retired.
Yeah. How did that go for you?
Well, yeah, you can see I'm here. One of the unique things about my experience is that virtually every organization I was with was accredited. And while that sounds kind of onerous, it really does help you understand how to operate your business in a very accountable, competent way, because the standards of quality are very easy to put into your business and make a lot of sense once you understand why they exist. Right. And that kind of thing. Right. So obviously I'm a firm believer in accreditation. I think that there's a great deal of benefit to being accredited in the marketplace. And I can tell you that our experience in New Jersey, which now requires every provider to be accredited, is that the agencies that we worked with, virtually everybody has said this is one of the best things that's happened to their business in a long time.
Right. And I have shared in the past with our members, our viewers, our guests, when I was going through the accreditation process many years ago, and, I wanted to throw the manual out of the window, right? There was all of these things, you're trying to manage your day-to-day, the call outs, the patient care, the new admissions, and all of those things, but now more so trying to do this. By this time, I'm 30, 40 clients in, and I'm now trying to put in play accreditation. So it was a little bit of a nightmare. But like you've just said, and I echo that, John, it was not until after the fact, and, hindsight is 2020, is that I look at it and say, you know what, it gave me the chance and the opportunity of saying, where were we falling short? And where were we doing well? So it started to set my barometer. It started to set my guidelines, if you will. So accreditation most definitely is that area. And today, again, we're talking about the home care quality. But I'm going to throw this at you. Tell us a little bit of the history on accreditation.
Well, accreditation really started in home care back in the mid 70s with an organization at that time. They were called the National Council for Homemaker Home Health Aid Services in New York, and they developed a set of standards, and at the time was the only set that existed. So they've been around for a while. The first agency that I worked for actually was accredited by them. So I got to know them early on. As I progressed through my career, I really did a lot of volunteer work for that particular accreditation. So I really became an advocate for it as a result of that. NICA was started because I felt that there was room for another accrediting body in home care, because there really is only about 6 of us that really do home care in the country. So we were fortunate enough to get involved and be one of the authorized accrediting bodies in New Jersey, and so we've worked quite extensively there.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for that, John.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, again, you mentioned that you've been an advocate and you are an advocate for home care and the quality of care. And today you're going to be sharing with us a PowerPoint and a presentation about home care quality. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, John, and share with us some of those key areas, what we need to be looking out for, what we need to hone in on, and what we need to, really take as our core value as we operate our business on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, good. If you'll go to the first slide, the dictionary says that quality is something that can be measured against things of a similar kind, or excellence, or quality standards. It's important for you to understand that quality can be measured. I do want to back up a little bit and tell you that if you're starting a home care business, the best model to base your operation on is an accreditation like NICA, because it will give you the organizational and the clinical infrastructure that you need to build a good, solid company. And so essentially what we're doing is building in these quality standards into an organization. Now, the presentation I present here is based on three different relationships in a home care organization. And that first relationship, and perhaps the most important, is the one that's between the caregiver and the client. If you can manage that relationship, you're going to end up with some very good retention rates for your staff and clients, and a lot of customer satisfaction. And understand that we all know that people who are looking for home care are burdened with this now new responsibility to care for somebody in the home, and that's not an easy thing. I really didn't realize how difficult it was until my mother, at the end of her life, was with us, and I really gained a great appreciation for the family caregiver and what they go through and that kind of thing. So that relationship between the client and the caregiver is perhaps the most important one. The next most important relationship is the one between the company and the caregiver. And if you again can make that a good, solid relationship, you are going to increase your staff longevity. You're going to make your employees happier, and all of that adds up to a much better service in terms of customer relations and that kind of thing.
Right, but we have we've got like a little bit of a wrench in the system here, John. New Jersey, Texas, doesn't matter where you are, but we're on and suffering from caregiver shortage.
Yes.
So even more important is that caregiver agency relationship, but it's also difficult in actually bringing them in, even to even get
Yes.
to that point of, how do you, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that caregiver shortage?
I I think that we have an opportunity in home care to do something that we've never been able to do before, and that is to bring new people into this business and give them a career that's a very meaningful career. I've read some literature and some reports and some articles about people returning to work, and they're not going back to just jobs. A lot of people are now looking for a
Something
job
with
that's more
meaning.
fulfilling. Yes,
Yes.
and so what better job than when you walk in that door, that client just loves you to death and knows that you're the most important person in their life that day. Um, that sense of self-worth and that sense of importance is what keeps people in this caregiving business.
Right.
Um, and I I was with an agency in New Jersey, and our longevity was in excess of 10 years.
Mm.
And it was because of just that. We designed our human resources management system to play into that self-worth kind of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
and we supported them in that. So I think it's important when you recruit, and especially when you're trying to retain staff, that you look at those intangible, uh, good feeling kinds of things, which I think will help with those two aspects of the.
Absolutely. It all most definitely comes into play. And, as I mentioned, we've got some challenges,
Yes.
from reimbursements, those kinds of things. It is becoming difficult to compete to, Target, for example, who may be paying $19. I saw McDonald's was paying $18, $19 to come on board. But again, these are issues for another day, John. And you know how we do when we get on the phone, we can talk for
Yeah.
forever, right? So let's
Yes.
get to that.
Yes.
Let's get back to that slide.
Okay. The uh, you know so here are some of the attributes of quality that I think are important, and it's the experience of the caregiver and a high retention rate. So when we look at an organization from an accrediting standpoint, we're looking to see what is their retention rate. What is their longevity of their staff? Because that tells us a lot. Legal accountability of a corporate structure. Our accreditation requires you to be a corporation. And there are a whole host of reasons for that. One of which is it's the best way to protect the owner's assets and to provide some kind of remediation should things go sour. Financial viability and trustworthy accounting. We, as corporations, are required to submit taxes. There's all kinds of uh, uh, financial information that we want to keep so we can make good basic decisions about our job, our company. And responsible human resources management, probably the the most important one of these attributes is that, because how you treat your people, how you manage that human resource is just vital to your success. Attention to safety. Uh, OSHA just put out an emergency temporary standard, which is full of new regulations that everybody needs to abide by. But safety is important because obviously we're not in the business to hurt people or that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, Service improvement and process and planning. If you're not paying attention to your company and you're not looking at what you're doing well and what you're not doing as good, and making plans and trying to improve that, you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be really behind the eight ball. So it's extremely important to stay on top of your business. Training and supervision of the caregiver, again, a very essential quality attribute. When that caregiver walks in the home, you want to be assured that they have the competency to do the job and that they have the proper supervision behind them to make sure that the service is delivered in a responsible, competent way. And then the supervision of the care, and that is really more based on consumer relations and than anything else. There's any number of things that can go wrong, and you got to be able to help resolve those issues. And this supervision of the care includes things like doing an assessment and doing a plan of care and setting the right expectations so everybody knows what's going on, and you can then mitigate some of that risk of that kind of thing.
Right. And I just wanted to piggyback on the line item that you mentioned regarding safety. Guys, the safety aspect also has a snowball effect when it comes to your workers' compensation. Okay, so we're not just talking about safety, we're talking about, injuries, whether it be how you're lifting, how you're turning, how you're bending. So we always have to pay attention because it does have a snowball effect on your bottom line as it relates to your workers' comp claims. So just be very, very aware of that. Not just safety for your client, it's safety for your caregivers also. So let's move on to that next slide.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about workers' comp. When I left Pennsylvania back in 1990, our rate for workers' comp was $13 per 100. It was,
oh my gosh,
it was a huge expense for us, and so you got to pay attention to that.
Absolutely, it's not fun, that's for sure.
Right.
Okay, so what do we have here?
When you look at these attributes, and you look at our standards and our accreditation process, the first 7 standards have to do with the company, the operation of the company, and it's the legal authority, the finances, the human resources, things like that. Because we know from experience that if you can put together a good, sound operation, that quality and good service will follow. But that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to that, because the last 5 standards are what we usually consider clinical standards, or standards that have to do with the type of service that you're providing. So that's where you get the training and the supervision and the case management and the keeping of a proper record and HIPAA and informed consent and those kinds of things. So all put together, then, when you look at these standards, these quality standards, and you weave them into your organization, then pops out this company that is really a good, sound service provider.
Perfect. Very well explained.
The other thing is that really, when people look for home care, one of the questions that they're going to ask, that they never ask, is, tell me about the quality of your service. Well, everybody talks about quality about their service. I don't really know if anybody really knows what it is. So quality isn't something that I think that the client thinks about, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to be the best that you can be. And that's the whole purpose of this process, is to build that company to be the best that it can be.
So in a statement then, John, define why quality matters.
Well, I think for the best and simplest is risk. Providing home care is not a risk-free business.
Oh yeah.
And if you just hang a shingle out and you just go get some people and you just go do this and willy-nilly, you are opening yourself up to a great deal of risk. And I think that quality, and especially the way we've designed the standards, is to mitigate as much of that as possible. Number one,
Right.
and number two, to make sure that that end product, which is the caregiver and the client relationship, is the best that it can be, that it's
Right.
supported. Years and years ago, Harvard did a study, and the top three reasons why caregivers stayed in the business was, number one was flexibility. Now you think about people leaving jobs today, they want more flexibility. And the other thing was being a member of a team, which means that that supervision that you're giving them, that attention that you're paying to them as an employee, is extremely important to them. Wage was not even number three, and I forget what number three
Right.
was, but
Right. Right. Right.
uh,
Good study.
yeah, yeah.
So recognizing quality.
Uh, we have a seal that we give organizations when they've completed the accreditation process, that they can put on their website, they can put on their material, they can freely share it, which means that when a potential client is looking for an organization, if they see that seal, it's like the Good Housekeeping seal of approval or the UL sticker. They know that this organization has gone through a process that that they know is they're going to get service from a competent and responsible organization. It really does help improve your reputation. It helps improve your credibility, to be able to tell people that, look, we're just not anybody. We have somebody here that's helping us build this organization in a credible way.
And internally, it's building your own internal infrastructure. It's redefining and restructuring your internal infrastructure also. Like I mentioned earlier on in the segment, is that when I went through it, it was a case of, once I did go through it, I was able to identify those areas of need and those areas that, we was really exceeding it in what that home care quality standard looked like.
Right, right, right. And the best thing to do is, if you're starting, is to use the like the NECA standards of accreditation as your model. It's going to
Right.
ask you to put together policies. It's going to ask you to put together procedures. It's going to require you to do some things. And if you do that up front, it's a lot easier to do that than to go back after you've been in business a year or two to go and do that. Like you say,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
an
a
easy task.
nightmare. It's not fun. And as a home care consultant, those are those times that I get called in, when those agencies are, 30 clients in. Yes, they've been following state, but now there's just some different nuances that
Mm-hmm.
are taking that level of care to that quality of care. So yeah,
Yes.
there are some times that I do have to throw things up against the wall, and remold them. So when it's not your own, it's actually kind of fun. But when it's your
Yeah.
own,
Yeah.
it really isn't. It
Well,
really isn't.
in our approach, one of the things that we like to do is to take these quality standards that we have and try to make them fit your operation. There are some that are not going to fit. You're just absolutely
Of
going to have
course,
to
of
change.
course.
But that's part of our approach to this. We want to nurture this organization along. Um, and make sure that it continues to improve and work towards that full compliance for those quality standards.
Perfect. John, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back because I do have some questions. I want to take some questions from those who are here watching. Hold that thought. We're going to be right back in like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to promote your brand and presence in the market? Let us help you do it in style without compromising lives or finances. At Home Care Business Advisors, we don't only coach you and your team towards a successful working environment, but we are also diligently aligning ourselves with affordable services and products that are convenient for you and are an enhancement of your brand. Our online marketplace is your perfect choice, where you can ensure quality with your chosen promotional products, from pens to mugs and even professional gifts. So what are you waiting for? Head over and visit Home Care Business Advisors online marketplace to choose from a range of handy, stylish products to get you noticed in your market.
So, John, thank you so very much for sharing with us your PowerPoint and your information about, about NICA, the National Institute for Home Care Accreditation, and what that home care quality staple looks like. So I have some questions just to throw in general, but
Okay.
I'm sure that you're up for the job to answer them. So my
Sure.
first question to you, John, is that if the state is not mandating accreditation, what is your suggestion to begin the process and select the right agency to work with?
Well, obviously, NICA feels that it's the right one to work with. I can tell you our approach is unique, and our standards are designed more for the private duty organization than they are for those that are involved in the regulated business, Medicare, Medicaid, and that kind of thing. And when you look for an accreditation, you want to look for the experience of the people. Again, I have over 35 years of home care experience, and there isn't really a lot that I haven't seen. And I've been doing this accreditation for a while. So I've been on both sides of the table. So there's not going to be a lot of surprises. All the folks that we have that are our peer reviewers are like me. They have tons of experience and are willing to share their expertise.
And I know that you've got something very exciting that you're bringing to the circuit. This we've had a conversation about, and well, you can share with us
Sure.
about the new element of NICA as it comes to dementia.
Okay. We know that in the dementia world, it's particularly important for the families to know that the organization they're going to be involved in has the specific kinds of skills and expertise it needs to deal with people with dementia. So NICA developed what we call a dementia designation, which means that the organization goes through a much briefer, but still a kind of a self-analysis of their operation against these quality standards for dementia. And then they earn the seal, which is then something that folks who are looking for care for a family member who has dementia can look for. And again, can feel assured that the person and the organization has the specific skills they need.
Well, I am so very excited about that, and I was very honored that you called me to join you in that committee. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that, getting out there because it's most definitely needed. And again, it's just, etching out that quality of care, but being more focused with our dementia clientele. That we really have to pay attention to. So I'm looking forward to that, John. So I'm waiting for that call to get back to the table.
Okay.
So, John, what in your opinion is the most critical component to accreditation? In your opinion?
The most critical component?
Uh-huh.
I think it's in our process. Our process is that we present you with this booklet called a self-assessment, and it takes you through a very in-depth look at your organization. And that's where you're going to learn about your strengths and your weaknesses, and the kinds of things that you need to put in place in order to move closer to compliance with these standards. I think, to me, that's the most important thing, and the thing that's going to help people the most to understand how to operate a good quality business.
Perfect. Great answer. So, how close does accreditation, whether it be NECA, whether it be CHAP, JCO, all of those other agencies, CAC, ACCA, how close do accreditation organizations work with the state? I do see some lap over, of course, in standards of accreditation to that of state. So, how close do you actually work together?
Well, and I take New Jersey an example because they require it. The state requires
Right.
it and has put it into the Division of Consumer Affairs and the Board of Nursing. They have developed their own set of regulations. So our approach to this is, number one, that you either have to meet our standard or you have to meet the state requirement, whichever is higher. So in our standards are very broad and are based on our considerable experience and research in the industry. And so these are really these are very tried and true standards that most everybody understands and looks at and goes, oh that's simple. So, but we have a memorandum of understanding with the state that requires us to look at the state regulations as part of our review of the organization. So we do work with them. We don't do any enforcement and that kind of thing. The only thing that we have any jurisdiction over is our own standards.
Right, right. So, John, which states, I know obviously starting in New Jersey, but what states is NECA currently providing accreditation?
Well, New Jersey is really the one we started with and the biggest one. And we've approached some other states, just like Virginia and Pennsylvania, to see if they're interested in doing something like that. But it's mostly just individual organizations who call us and say, "Look, I like what this has to offer, and we'll just do that." So,
Right. Wonderful. In closing, John, as I ask, and I thank you for your time that you have been with us today. It's been thorough, it's been comprehensive. Again, talking about that home care quality. I normally close out with our guests and asking them, what advice would you give as it relates to home care? Because you have an enormous amount of experience, knowledge, and background. But also with that of accreditation, what is going to be your lasting and final statement to our viewers today, and what to do, how to do it, the best way to do it? What is your advice to them?
Yeah, I think that just recognizing that the standards are a good guide, and that they're not as onerous as people think they are. The accreditation process is, yes, produces a lot of angst, but once you get through that, and once you understand what these standards are, and once you operationalize them, you're going to feel that you've actually moved to a different level. That's what we're told time and time again. And so I think that that's important, because as we face these recruitment and retention issues and all of this other stuff, those organizations that stand out are the ones that are going to, I think, weather the storm.
John, you are a true advocate for home care. And for all of those who are here watching, I know that you support them in their endeavors in, bringing that quality to our aging population. Your information today was awesome. I thank you. We're going to have to do this again, but make sure that we speak pretty soon, okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
And thank you for having me.
You can let Mrs. Buck know that I didn't bite a leg off or take a limb. You're coming out of this pretty safe, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
All right.
So guys, all I'm saying in closing is, if you have not done so, please head over to our YouTube, click on the subscribe button. Also, we are now launching our rebranded home care business advisors, and it'll be called the Home Care Business Advisors Prime. We're excited about seeing that. We have a home care business conference coming up in Florence, South Carolina of June 2022, which you'll be seeing that information coming out too. But in the meantime, everybody stay well, be safe. John, I thank you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.